On the Gamebridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to This Week in Ball State Sports, a Ball State athletics podcast, highlighting the Cardinals athletic teams and administration each week. Presented by Gamebridge. Here's the voice of the Cardinals, your host, Mick Tidrow.
Cardinal fans, this is episode 23 of This Week in Ball State Sports, and we have a fun show on tap. First, starting off with the conversation with Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell, and we'll talk with Rich Maloney, Ball State baseball. Get ready for the season because guess what? Baseball season is here this weekend, and we'll have all the conversation coming up with our head baseball coach. Jeff, we want to definitely start off with a great Sunday that Ball State Athletics just had. A 3-0 mark, 3 different sports. Really good way to start off this week.
Yeah, thanks, Mick, for having me. Fun Sunday for our teams. We had women's basketball with a huge win over James Madison in the MAC SBC Challenge. Our girls continue to play so well and are so connected in how they do it. Offensively, very efficient, and then dominant on defense. And our crowd was really into it yesterday, hosting that game. And a national TV audience on CBS Sports Network got to witness that. And, our team belongs on the national stage. I think we're a postseason team. And I think that was on full display yesterday, and continue to be impressed with, the level of energy with which they play. And they're so competitive, and they were an angry team yesterday after having a little bit of a hiccup during the middle of the week on the road at Northern Illinois, which is going to happen from time to time. But 21-3 now on the season. Just a fun brand of basketball. So that was one of the victories. The other one was, or one of the other two, was a victory by our softball program. Helen Pena, our head softball coach, picked up her first win as a college head coach, and certainly as a Cardinal as well. Tough weekend for softball. Played a really good field in Jacksonville, 2 games against North Florida, 2 games against James Madison, and then they beat a really good Fordham team yesterday for that first win of the campaign. Resilient group. This is, for the most part, the same group that we had last year, and I was impressed with their resilience. I think that will continue to be the case. It's just early, and that was the first opportunity to play extended softball outside for our team since the fall. Right,
makes a big difference.
It does, and I think that our team is going to continue to improve. So excited that they got their first win of the season, and that will carry on, as we go into this next weekend. And then on the women's tennis side, getting a first win of the season, Shachin Kurtain, our new head women's tennis coach, picking up his first win as a Cardinal. Coach Shaq, as we refer to him here, is a veteran head coach. So this wasn't his first ever victory as a head coach, but it certainly was his first victory as a Cardinal, so we applaud that and happy for that team as they continue to play this spring. So anytime you can go 3-0 on Sunday, it's a good day.
It's really cool to see coaches pick up their first wins with Ball State, too. And Coach Pena, of course, like you mentioned, her first head coaching victory. Shaq, you mentioned, has an extensive history at the collegiate level. But to have coaches win their first games early in the season, starting to set the tone a little bit here.
Yeah, and it's a special opportunity for them, too. I called Coach Pena shortly after that game yesterday, and one of our associate athletic directors, Lindsey Blom, was on that trip with that team, and so we coordinated this call because I wanted to congratulate her, even though I was doing it via phone, where the team could hear me congratulate Coach Pena, and Coach Blom presented Coach Pena with a game ball, to commemorate that first win, and you could hear the young ladies on the team just going crazy, as I was congratulating Coach Pena, and it was a special moment, and it should be that way. I mean, we celebrate those wins because winning's hard, and it's especially meaningful when you put in so much time and effort to construct a roster, to get ready to play, to do all the little things that our coaching staffs have to do to prepare their teams for competition. let alone success. It's special when these milestone wins happen, and win number one is a milestone win. You can't get to 100 or 200 until you win that first one. So I'm so excited for Coach Pena and that team, and the same thing with Coach Curtain. He came in and has had to build and reconstruct a roster and get ready for competing in a league that has had really good tennis, and he's going to be just fine, and our program will be. And to celebrate that win, I called him after the match as well, and he's elated, right? Because you get that first one, and now you just keep building. So he's really proud of the young ladies and what they're doing on the tennis courts. So the future's bright for both those programs in particular.
It's really cool to hear the difference of. You mentioned Coach Pena has some players that were on the team last year. You mentioned the resilience, women's tennis side, a lot of new faces. So both coaches coming in their first year at Ball State. It's always intriguing to see how that all works out because there's a different level of recruiting that goes on, obviously, with a team that has some returners versus with women's tennis, they had to bring in a lot of new players.
Yeah, and not to oversimplify it, but I think what our coaches are doing is they're dealing with a certain set of facts. And it's who's on the team, who they need to recruit, what gaps need to be filled, what the schedule looks like, and then you formulate this particular team's culture, because it's really hard in any sport right now to build a program, right? It used to be that's what the goal was. We're going to build a program, and this is how we do things within this program year in, year out. And to some extent that's still the case, but we're constructing teams on an annual basis. Some of those same elements of culture stay the same, but it's in a more concentrated manner because it is year by year. And again, it depends on the sport. It depends on all the factors that are at play. But for those two programs in particular, softball, tennis, different set of facts for both. And both of our coaches have come in and I think have very proficiently understood what their particular fact sets are, and they've constructed a team as a result, and now are going to continue to compete as best they can with their teams and with and dealing with whatever factors are at play, and then that is going to start all over again, as the season concludes later this spring, as they get prepared for next year. But the benefit is now they're here and they're already looking ahead at some other things for the following year, whereas they both got here this summer, this past summer, sure, to prepare for a season, and that puts them, quite frankly, at a little bit of a disadvantage because there's a lot of work that needed to have gone in for this season prior to when they arrived, and I'm really proud of them. I think they've done a really nice job, and excited for both of those programs under the leadership of Coach Pena and Coach Curtain.
On a veteran side, the gymnastics squad, another victory at home here in Worthing against Kent State. Great start to MAC, great start to the season overall. That unit's back on the road, of course, but opportunities for them just to continue to grow, get better and better, and showcase what they have. Yeah,
so their meet a week or so ago, despite a couple of hiccups, played really well or performed really well, and then on the road this past weekend at Central Michigan with a really solid performance, and I think it was the first time in a long time that they had won on the road at Central. So really proud of that team. I texted with Coach Joanna Salim after the event, and she said, I am so impressed with and I'm putting words in her mouth a little bit because I don't remember what that exact text message was, Mick, but it was to the effect of, I'm so proud of this strong group of women that comprise our gymnastics team. And I couldn't agree with her more. I mean, they are just a resilient, strong, dynamic, connected team, it's a team sport, but also an individual sport, and they support each other and they push each other and they expect excellence out of each other, and that's what you see from a results standpoint with this program. And Coach Salim is an excellent motivator and an excellent coach and an excellent mentor. And these women respond not only to her but her staff, and they respond to each other, and that they celebrate each other's success, not only after each routine but during the routine, because as an individual competitor is performing, they're feeding off the energy that they're getting from their teammates, and it just fuels them for excellence, and it fuels them for these great scores that they're posting, and I couldn't be more excited and proud of them.
Talk about fueling with energy. Men's volleyball, a couple of wins so far to start off MIVA. Dropped one on the road at McKendree, but that season starting to come together from a conference standpoint too. Yeah,
the MIVA is a strong league, and anytime you go on the road, especially play a couple of weekend matches, if you can get a split on the road, you're doing something well. And disappointing game, I think, at McKendree on Friday. That match could have gone either way. We had the first two sets of that first match against them were really close. And if it had gone our way, maybe that's a winning in three for us as opposed to dropping in three. I really was concerned about how they would respond. And we bounced back at Lindenwood on Saturday and dropped the first match, or the first set of that match, then battled back and won the second set, won the third set, dropped the fourth, and then it goes into the fifth, and was an epic back and forth fifth set, and we managed to win it. That is going to do a lot for our program, or for this team, because they needed to figure out a way to face some adversity, get through it, and end up on the win column, or in the win column, and they did that. And so I think that is a credit to the team that we have. It's a credit to our coaching staff for believing in them, and Coach Cruz, pushing the right buttons down the stretch in that match. But there's a lot of volleyball left to be played in a tough league, and we're back in, I think, a tie for first place in the league, and I think that's really important as we continue to go through this league season. So we will see how things play out, but it's such high-level volleyball, and it's an exciting brand of it, and the young men on our team are working really hard to continue the level of excellence that Ball State volleyball stands for.
And there's a level of growth within just a weekend there. You talk about from a philosophical standpoint, when a program drops a tough one on a Friday, then has to turn around and play in another tough road environment the next day and comes out with a 5-set win, that also helps reinforce the standard that this team has and this program has.
That's right, especially when you drop 3 sets in a loss, and then in the rebound match, you drop the first set. And, it could have gone either way in that second set of the Lindenwood match, too, and we were fortunate to win it. And that completely changes how you approach the rest of the match. And certainly if you win the next set, which we did in set 3. So the team is a composition of older statesmen, so to speak, and younger players, and that's an interesting dynamic, especially as you get into the middle of the season, still kind of the beginning of our conference season. And who are our leaders, who are our playmakers, and sometimes they're one and the same, sometimes they're different people, and as those positions emerge and people start to look to the leaders for guidance and encouragement and support, as they look to the playmakers, for assistance during matches, or just the expectation of, like, you got to make this play right now. Yeah. As those roles are not only identified but accepted, that's when things start to really unfold in a very positive way. So that's kind of the next step for me, looking at our volleyball team, is who are those leaders, who are those playmakers. And these are answers I think that Coach Cruz knows, right? It's time now for the student athletes themselves to readily accept or identify those roles and then just embrace them, right? And then I think that'll be more fun for fans and so forth to see what that looks like. And the great thing is, and for many of our teams, is you don't really know who's going to step up on any given night in any given competition. And I think that's certainly the case for men's volleyball. Is sometimes it can be a veteran player, sometimes it can be a new player, and you just want it to be happening more so for your team than the opponent, Mick.
Men's golf, we asked you about your golf swing last week. I'll get to another swing coming up when we talk about baseball. But men's golf, good start to the season for them already. Women's golf starts up today as this episode drops. Really good to see those two programs back in action. It is.
And I talked to Coach Mike Fleck after the men's golf tournament in Florida, and they were dominant in that event, and he was really excited that they played the way they did. I think that our golf team has a chance to continue to be very solid this spring. They had a great fall, and look forward to their continued success, but they're playing really well. On the women's side, I know that Coach Cam Andry and his group are excited to get this spring segment going. I texted him yesterday as they were heading to the event and said, just hit them straight and far. And he said, that's the plan. So I'm going to hold him to that. But looking forward to seeing that team play in Arizona this week. And, it's, their swings are still better than mine, though, Mick.
How about your baseball swing? The baseball season's starting this week.
I love hitting. Unfortunately, now the ball doesn't go as far as.
I'm gonna call your bluff, because we all saw video evidence of you in a competition against Kyle Kelly in the fall with football. So I'm gonna call your bluff, Jeff. I think the swing is still well in order.
Well, that was a good pitch to hit.
See, here comes the humbleness coming out.
It was a good pitch to hit, and it's that was fun. Yeah, but from a baseball swing standpoint, I'm excited about baseball and softball season, and look forward to seeing our teams hit. We hit the ball well in softball yesterday against Fordham, and by yesterday I mean Sunday. And then from a baseball standpoint, Coach called me over the weekend saying, "Hey, we're hitting the ball pretty well," and that's encouraging to hear from a baseball coach at this point in the season, because you just never know. Sometimes pitching's far ahead of hitters, and I think our pitching has been really good too. And I think Coach is excited about what he's got on the mound. So we'll see. We're playing a tough schedule in this non-conference segment to start, and this opening weekend coming up will be a test for us. So looking forward to seeing where we are early in the year. And the great thing is baseball in particular is such a long season, a 56-game schedule, and you get to make adjustments as the season progresses, and you're trying to tee up your pitching for that first weekend or two, and you don't know really what you have until you play. And so the enthusiasm level is really high right now with our baseball team as they prepare for opening weekend. I look forward to tracking those guys as they play 4 games, I believe, this weekend.
We'll get your baseball swing back on full assessment now that we see some sunshine out here on Muncie. But Jeff, we appreciate you as always. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you, Mick. Go Cards.
Sometimes it's not the moment. It's the moment before the moment. The moment you make a choice. The moment you take control. The moment only you can own. Gainbridge lets you invest on your terms. So you're not only in charge of this moment, but all the moments to come. Start investing now at Gainbridge.io.
We're back inside episode 23 of This Week in Ball State Sports. And hey, it's almost baseball season. Well, it is baseball season because we played this week. We're with Rich Maloney, Ball State baseball head coach. Coach, when we say that baseball starts this week, what's the first thing that's running through your head?
Yeah, well, we're excited. I mean, because you've been working so hard. These kids have worked so hard for so long. And now all of a sudden they get to compete against somebody else. We've been fortunate since we went to the 20-hour practice week. In late January, we've actually only been inside twice, so we've been outside. It's never happened, not even close. If we got like 2 or 3 practices outside at this time of the year already, would have been great. We've gotten almost all of them. So I think in that regard, our boys have been able to see balls off the bat that they wouldn't have been able to see inside. So we're thankful for that. But we're excited to compete against somebody else, and here we go. Friday's the opener.
That turf field really helps in February like this when you have a little bit of sunshine.
Yeah, a great blessing. Now, we got a great indoor facility. We're very fortunate, but there's still nothing like being outside. Outside when watching the ball travel and the outfielders go get the ball, the infielders in space. I mean, that's how the game is really meant to be played. We always make the most of whenever we're inside, and we've crafted that pretty well over the years, and our kids do a great job with that, but being outside's extra special. And now it's nice to put on the uniform and then kind of see where you're at. So the first weekend we have Lehigh, we have number 16 Iowa, we have Merrimack, and then we have another Big Ten school, Michigan State. One of my former assistants to head coach there, Jake Boss. So we got a great opportunity, and then we kind of play out the weekend and kind of see where you're at and try to get better.
From when we talked with you at Media Day to this point now to get ready for this first series, this first weekend, how have you seen the team get better with those reps outside?
Well, it's great because the hitters really started to hit the last couple scrimmages. Before that, I'd say the pitchers had the advantage. We just hadn't seen live pitching like that. And so now it's by being outside, I think, in scrimmaging that much, I think it really helps because they got several at-bats underneath them that normally they wouldn't have. So I think that'll be a real positive for us. And again, when the lights turn on, you never know how each kid's going to respond. We got a lot of new faces, new players, and we got a lot of competition at positions. And guys will be thrown in the fire, and then they got the guys who produce obviously get more opportunity than the other guy.
What does the first weekend usually mean for your program to try and settle the season in and just find a groove early on?
Well, a couple things. For the first thing is we get up and we take this long bus ride. And so we're all about the team. Old Bo Schembechler mantra, always been part of my mantra ever since I started coaching a long time ago. And I really value the team. And the bus ride's about the team. So at first the guys will be real early in the morning. They'll be sleeping. Then they'll wake up, and then they'll go to breakfast together. It's camaraderie. It's building on the camaraderie they already built in the fall, but now it's like, okay, and then the excitement of getting ready to play somebody else. Then when you finally get to your destination, we'll go right off the bus and we'll have practice. And then it becomes more real.
Get those legs moving.
Yeah, get the legs moving after a long bus ride. And then, you wake up in the morning, and then before you know it, it's showtime, and all that work that the boys have put in for the moment to compete. And it's special. And there's nothing like opening day for any school, no matter who you're playing. The fact that you're putting on the uniform and getting the opportunity to compete is really, really special. And it's especially special in our program because our word for the year is compete. The boys picked that. And so here you go. We call it man versus man in practice. So you're going to have a pitcher from the other team versus our hitter. We're going to have our pitcher versus their hitter. And that's the beauty of the game. And that's what we get to experience this weekend.
3:15 doesn't sound bad when you have opening day attached to it not too long after it.
That's right. Even though it's early in the morning, the guys will be sleeping soundly until they get to breakfast about 8:30. But nevertheless, I think the bus rides actually, the guys have told me over the years, even though some of them are really long, the camaraderie that's built on those, the memories that are created, are last these guys a lifetime. So for us just to be together and then be heading to get the excitement of getting ready to play is special. And then you got the grind of the season. It's all about getting better. So for us, it's all about MAC play. And here's opportunities for us to evaluate our team, for guys to get thrown in situations, see who handles what, see if our thought process as coaches is right now, or how much of it changes based on how guys perform. Figuring all those things out is part of the building process, and really one of the fun things about the season is building your team. So now we kind of see what we got, and then we hopefully can continue to learn from whatever happens and grow from it, so that when we open up the MAC, that we're ready to contend.
Coach, you mentioned building the team, and one thing that you do to get to that point is the first pitch dinner. How exciting was that this year to have the team together, supporters, Brian Bollington back in town to get this thing rolling? Yeah,
that's always a great kickoff, and I always say once you get through that, then you really see it's time for the season. Yeah. Because that's, it's a lot of work putting it together, but it's always a great evening. We're thankful for all those people who support our program, who care about Ball State baseball. We're thankful for Brian to come back. He did an outstanding job sharing from his experiences, and we're thankful for the group that we have. Every year, you got new faces, guys graduate, guys turn pro, and now with this transfer stuff, you got a new, in essence, it's a new group that you got built. And to see the guys up there, how they've meshed up to this point, I've been very impressed. So we'll see. We're going to kind of see where we're at and go from there. But the first pitch dinner is always special. And the support that we get, really for me, it's like this past weekend we had John Kessick was a third-round draft pick for us. He come into town with his family because they had never really seen Ball State. So his kids, they're 17 and I think 15, and they had never been on campus. So I got to spend quality time with John and his family, and it's nice to see him being successful outside of baseball, but yet his love for Ball State still strong. And those are special, but that's part of our tradition. So we've got a lot of that around. We've been very, very fortunate. And so now which guys are going to be the guys that get to go on this wall in my office because of their great performances?
We've got a few up here on this wall, and that just shows the history of Ball State baseball. Rich, I think your wall's actually almost fully covered on this side.
Look I got 4. I don't even have room for a bunch of them, which is a tribute to the tradition we have and the great players we've been able to have in the program.
Rich, so first pitch coming up in just a couple of days here as we record this and drop this episode. You mentioned the pitchers started off really strong in the first couple of scrimmages. The hitters started to come along as well. What about the pitching staff has excited you early on with these practices and scrimmages? Yeah, what we have is right now is I think we've got depth. What we need to have happen is we need to find out who is going to be that guy or two that really step up and really take the onus as starters. We've got several possibilities. The question is who's going to when the bell rings, who's going to answer the bell. Otherwise, we're going to have to piecemeal it. I've had to do it both ways in my career as a coach. We'd really like to see a couple guys step up. I think we got the guys to do it, but it's not like we have a guy like Dre Jameson that we're already saying that's our guy, or John Baker, that's our guy, or Brian Bollington. We have guys that I think are capable of becoming guys like that, but not at the current point. Their experience hasn't, they don't have a resume yet that shows that. So that's going to be the one of the big questions that we have to answer is, who's going to be those guys, and can they be consistent enough for us to be consistent win? I do think our lineup 1 through 9 is one of the best we've had, and I think we actually have depth of guys. There's going to be guys on the bench that are pretty good players that on some other teams probably would be getting opportunities, and they're going to have to wait their turn. So I do think over time we'll score runs, but our schedule's pretty foreboding, and when you have a foreboding schedule, the pitchers, if you got high-end pitchers, and we'll be facing some of those in these first 3 weeks,
they usually shut down good hitting. So it's going to be a challenge. We're going to have to scratch and claw in these first few weeks as we're figuring out our own pitching staff to win ball games, keep us moving in the right direction. But I like the team. I think these guys have a real shot to be a really good team at some point. Hopefully sooner than later, but it's all part of the process. But I believe in these guys. I think they're going to have a good season.
Rich, you say 1 through 9 plus. You have the depth. What makes you say that?
Yeah, well, you got a guy. I mean, we got this Houston King is a transfer from a junior college, Crowder Junior College. Started off his career at Kentucky. He's a real deal, man. I mean, the guy can play. He reminds me of Mir Wright. A couple of years ago, we had a Mir Wright who was a grad transfer. We had him only 1 year. Was a great player for us. I think Houston King is going to hit really, really well. I think Decker Shuffler's playing at a high level. I mean, he was the batting champion in the Mid-American Conference, and he's swinging well. Hunter Dobbins is a very talented young man who really struggled with the bat last year with the first time in his life because the kid's hit ever since he probably came out of the womb. He hit. But he did struggle last year, and so we're hoping that he has a big rebound year, and he's very, very capable. And he had a great fall and is looking good right now, so hopefully he does that. And then we got this guy, Matt Gonzalez, going to be our DH. He was a junior college transfer that's really swung it well. We've got Beavis, Blake Beavis, who hit 11 home runs for us. We got Michael Hallquist, who was Player of the Year in the Northwoods League. In between the Northwoods League and his Division II school, he had 37 home runs last year. Pretty amazing.
It's a good year.
It's a good year. Dylan Grego, who sat behind Adam Tellier last year, and he only got about 35 at bats last year, but he popped 3 of them out. He's a good player. He's a solid player. So he'll be our shortstop. Then we got a 5th-year guy, Corey Miley. Actually, I think he's a 6th-year guy, a grad transfer at second base who's had some experience, been in some regionals, which is nice. Got Matty Kamens is another guy who's a good player, a junior college transfer. Then we got Nick Gregory batting 9th when he was our leadoff hitter last year.
Depth.
And had a great on-base percentage, good player. So we got a lot of guys, and there's some guys on that currently might start on the bench, but are very, good hitters. Got Nick Hasosky, showed well in practice, gives us depth, and then you got Corbin Griffin, who's outstanding, and then you got Clay Jacobs. These guys are good players. But you can only put 9 names in the lineup, so we'll have opportunity to bring other guys in at certain times. So I like where we're at from a hitting standpoint. I think this team could produce a lot of runs.
Well, Coach, we're excited to see it all come to fruition here in a couple of days with the big road trip to start off the season. We appreciate you joining the show.
Thanks for having me, Mick.
Thanks for listening to This Week in Ball State Sports, presented by Gamebridge. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Gamebridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network.